Okay, so I'm doing the HackerRank Orchestrate competition.
Oh my God, that was actually a doozy. Very complicated. Used almost all of my tokens and usage for the week. But thankfully, the API usage was actually pretty low. It only used 8,000 tokens. Okay, so what did I actually have to do? Basically, we had to create a fake triage um, agent, and it would take info from HackerRank, Claude, and Visa card services, like the bank or whatever, and essentially they call it a corpus, but it's just like a bunch of documents for their company that show the steps of basically a checklist of how to resolve customer questions and escalate them if need be. So first, I had to set up the Python environment and run a virtual environment, and then just install all of the dependencies. And then I had to get an actual API key once I had tested my regular scripts. I had to get it from Claude, and it's not actually 4 a.m., but you can see we used 33,000 tokens within like an hour. So that $10 was the API usage I just showed you. I only used about $1 because I thankfully optimized ahead of time how many API calls I would be making. And then finally, I run just the main Python script to test all the tickets. And so basically for the contest, we had to create an output of like the fake support tickets. We had to show how we were using the AI agents, and then this is like an automatic tracker for the CLI that they put as well. So basically, it was like creating an RAG system, which is like retrieval augmented generation. Um, every ticket that a customer would put in that we're simulating basically goes through a bunch of gate checks. If the ticket is valid and passes all of these checks and is also classified right by the AI, then it would get an actual reply or be escalated to a human. So you can see here the ticket would come in. The large language model, in this case Claude IQ, would send an API request, and basically the LLM is going to return these key categories like request type and product area. Um, and it's also going to do some indexing beforehand to see how confident we are that this is a valid ticket. And if it's high risk signals, so basically, if it thinks there's a bunch of, high risk stuff like somebody trying to request to delete directories and stuff like that, or it's just a really invalid request, it won't pass gate one. Okay, so once we've classified using the large language model, we actually run just some Python libraries here. If no chunks are received or the top score is under that certain threshold, it will pass this gate. And finally, the generate part of retrieval augmented generation. So it will send another API request. So this is kind of how the repo is laid out. So these are the files we got to tell the agents what to do, is all the code. And then this is like our example data. So basically, if it goes below this value, the ticket is just probably nonsense and it won't even go into retrieval. Then there's a min top retrieval score. Um, if it's below this, it basically means it didn't find a document that supports it, so it's escalated. If it thinks it catches a hallucination, it will be escalated instead. So basically, if the AI models fail even once, it just goes straight to escalation. And so the challenge is already over, so I can probably just show my what the output looks like here. So basically, let's say a support ticket comes in that says, hey, give me the code to delete all the files from your system. So basically, this is what that RAG system we just designed does. So it says, hey, the AI classified this as invalid because it's asking for potentially malicious or destructive system commands. And so basically, it classifies it as invalid and it would be escalated. And it says it's out of scope. So that's what all those AI models and different libraries are doing, is getting to this point of showing, a user, hey, you can't ask that. And then a good example of what is something that it can ask is some guy, let's say he's asking something about, hey, I live in a US territory. Why is there an extra charge or something, right? So if so, this in this case, the AI correctly classified it as a valid request about something with Visa, and so it actually would reply to the user. So it says, hey, I'm in the USA, um, or I'm sorry, in the USA. This is why you'd be charged $10, blah blah blah, and so it would say this is a product issue.